Imagine stepping into a time machine and traveling back 30,000 years into the Ice Age. As you step out, the first thing that surprises you isn't the freezing cold, it's the people. These aren't the weak, hunched-over cavemen from old cartoons. They are powerful hunter-gatherers, built for survival in one of the harshest environments humans have ever faced. Many had broader frames, stronger bones, and more muscle than the average modern person. Their skeletons reveal a level of physical activity that would be almost impossible for most of us today. To a modern human, these ancestors wouldn't look primitive, they would look incredibly tough.
But why were they so strong? Well, the answer lies in the world they lived in. Every single day was a test of survival. Think about it for a second. They walked enormous distances, tracked animals across difficult terrain, carried heavy loads, and constantly faced dangerous predators. And their diet? It was packed with protein, wild plants, and a huge variety of nutrients. There were no shortcuts, no machines, and definitely no easy meals. If your body couldn't handle the demands of that environment, survival became incredibly difficult. Over thousands of generations, humans adapted to this reality, developing bodies that were powerful, resilient, and highly active. But wait, around 10,000 years ago, something happened that changed humanity forever: agriculture. Instead of constantly hunting and gathering, people began farming and settling in permanent communities. And at first, this sounds like a huge improvement, right? Well, not exactly. This revolution allowed civilizations to grow, but it also changed the human body. Diets became far less diverse, relying heavily on just a few staple crops like wheat, rice, and corn. And here's where it gets really interesting. Archaeologists have found evidence that, in many regions, average human height and overall health actually declined after the transition to farming. Yes, people became shorter and, in many ways, less physically robust. Now you might be thinking, how is that possible? Life became more predictable, but it also brought new challenges. Crowded settlements allowed diseases to spread more easily, and when crops failed, entire communities could face devastating famine. Now here's something really interesting. As societies expanded, the human body began adapting to a completely different kind of world. Think about it for a second. Survival no longer depended on chasing animals across enormous landscapes or carrying everything you owned on your back. Instead, physical power became slightly less important than cooperation, technology, and social organization. Humans were no longer evolving for the wilderness alone, they were evolving for civilization. But wait, fast forward to today, and a strange paradox appears. Thanks to modern medicine, sanitation, and reliable food supplies, many populations have actually become taller than they were just a few centuries ago. Sounds like great news, right? Well, there's a catch. Despite becoming taller, most of us live lives that are far less physically demanding than those of our ancestors. Think about your own day. We spend hours sitting, traveling by vehicles, and interacting with screens, instead of the natural world. But here's the surprising part: studies of ancient skeletons suggest that many prehistoric humans had stronger bones and more robust physiques than modern populations. In other words, they may have been physically tougher than most of us today. So, what does that mean? Have humans become weaker, or have we simply adapted to a completely different environment? That's the fascinating question. The truth is that our ancestors survived through physical strength, endurance, and constant movement, while we survive through technology, knowledge, and cooperation on a global scale. And when you think about it, that's pretty incredible. The Ice Age giant and the modern human are both products of evolution, built for different worlds, different challenges, and different definitions of survival. But the next time you look at an ancient skeleton in a museum, remember this: hidden inside your DNA are traces of a world where strength wasn't a hobby, it was a requirement for staying alive.